Center, the ability to live stream and ask if anybody else wants to. Okay, and if not, Victoria, will you take the roll call?
Bill,
Bill, you're on mute.
Here.
so John Kerry's not here. Jim,
I think you should call his name and yeah, just so we announce it. But I'm here.
Lauren,
Here.
Renee,
Here.
Mike,
Here.
George Hertz,
Here.
Angela,
Here.
Caitlin,
Here.
George Laham,
Here.
George Marone,
Here.
Christina, Chris,
Here.
Sean,
Here.
and Alex isn't here.
Okay, do we get everybody? All right, let's, I did this out of order, but let's stand and do the pledge of allegiance to the flag. Chris, I know you have your flag, so I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you. So I guess let me read this. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, on June 16, 2022, Governor Baker signed into law an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. This act includes an extension to March 31st, 2023 of the remote meeting provisions of his March 12, 2020 executive order. This meeting will be conducted via remote means in accordance with this authorization. So I don't know if anybody of you saw, but I believe the president is going to basically declare that the COVID emergency is over. I think it was in May. So my guess is a lot of this Zoom participation, frankly, will probably slightly unwind. It is my hope that we can definitely do the public hearings in person. We've talked about in the past and especially doing our meetings when we vote. The meeting on the 14th is on Zoom, but afterwards, unless I hear otherwise, we will look at the health situation, in terms of town. But I think the intent is for our public hearings to have public hearings. And then people are clearly welcome to wear a mask, to make you feel as comfortable as we can during those meetings. Let me do my update. I want to talk to you about a couple of things. One, I watched the select board meeting tonight, and there are no changes right now in the warrant articles. And they have also not deleted any warrant articles, but they did discuss they will, when they're coming in on the 14th to present the budget to us, they will be talking about the warrant articles. So the 14th, not only will we be receiving the municipal budget, but we will be getting the school's budget at the same time. So probably the most important thing I want to do tonight is to give you a little bit of some facts and observations about the FY24 budget. Because this year, I actually think the work of our subcommittees is going to be very, very important to review and assure town residents that both the municipal and school budgets have met the stated goal of sustaining services through a balanced budget in a very, very challenging fiscal year. And I think both the schools and the town are very much attempting to meet that standard. To share with you some observations in my participation on the Budget Steering Committee, I really feel that the municipal and school administrators have worked really diligently to prepare budgets that are balanced. I'm sure, as you all know, some of the challenges included very heavy inflationary costs, energy being an example, and programming costs, clearly as exemplified by Chapter 766 increases in programmatic and transportation costs. The other thing to note is that as of this point in time, the contracts for the teachers and the firefighters have not been finalized, but appropriate numbers have been included based on some, sound financial assumptions. And finally, at this point in time, the school committee has not yet voted its budget. The superintendent and staff have recommended a budget to the school committee, and I certainly, and they will vote on that prior to our February 14th meeting. And let me just share with you some highlights of the FY24 budget as it currently stands in front of the town. And at the select board's meeting tonight, there were no changes to it on the operating side. The total budget is proposed at about 115.6 million. It's a 6.1 increase over FY24. Municipal is 4.2%, schools 4.5%, fixed costs 5.2%, health insurance and including pensions. Now there's some estimates in there, especially for healthcare costs. And we also don't have the final state aid figures. Debt service is an increase of 32.5%, and that primarily is due to the 1.8 million due to the first full funding of the debt service related to the Hanlon School. So that was really to be an expected increase. I would encourage you, if you get a chance, look at the January 24th presentation that Stephanie McManus made to our Director of Finance, made to the Select Board. It's online. It's under her Finance Department. You can look at the slides. It's a pretty good overview, I think, what they're going to be submitting. And finally, since our capital budget subcommittee will be meeting with the town administrator and department heads, including the school administrators on February 7th, and hopefully they will review and develop recommendations on the entire capital budget, including the municipal capital improvements of 1.3 million, school improvements of 1.5 million, and borrowing articles of about 3.9 million. I hope that by the capital group chaired by Chris Parita, and I think Lauren and Jim are on that, if they can get through the capital budget and develop their recommendations, that will let us focus on the operating budgets with our other subcommittees. We have 2 municipal committees, and we obviously have the school committee. So that's pretty much the update on the budget. I've watched this town deal with budgets over, a lot of years. To me, this is going to be one of the most challenging budgets. And I'm going to rely on the subcommittees to come back and tell us that they think that, the budgets are sustainable, they're balanced, and let us know what recommendations we can make to the town. So that's my update. And I guess at that point in time, I will open it up to any questions that people may have before I turn to Chris. George Lehan, I saw you had a hand up.
Yeah, you said that the municipal budget had an increase of 4.2% overall, and then you said that the school budget had an increase of 6.2.
No, 4.5. The 6.2 was on the capital. Was on the debt service.
I'm sorry, 6.2 for debt services, and you said what for the school?
4.5.
But did I get the municipal right?
Yes. Now, on the school, if you've watched the school committee meetings, originally they came in at 5.5%, and they've made their effort to bring it down to a balanced budget. So they're coming in at 4.5%, or that's their recommendation to the school committee.
Right. But how does that affect the negotiations? The teachers have basically walked away.
We can't, first of all, the contract negotiations are something we really can't get into because they are under negotiations. All I can tell you is, I think both on the school side and on the municipal side, they built some reasonable assumptions into the budget. Okay. So in other words, they made some assumptions about what the needs will be, but those contracts are not resolved.
Right. And I'm not asking for if there's of any information other than it's not final yet because negotiations are still going on, hoping for a 4.5% increase.
Yes. And the 4.5% increase on the schools, 4.2% increase in the town.
So and the municipal is, and I know I probably drive in Victoria crazy with the municipal because it's 9 different people that we have to meet with.
Right. Well, that's on your committee. And then the other side, we've got the public safety has the police, the fire, and the DPW. George, I honestly think, though, for the first time, it'll give some of the smaller departments some exposure. I like the fact. I know it's a lot of.
I'm sure it's great. It's just 9 people that, 9 budgets to review for 2 people. It's going to be interesting. 9
more tax returns, George, is the way I view it. Okay.
I'm not saying anything anymore. I got myself in trouble last week. Forget
That's all right. It's okay. It's okay. Any other questions before we turn it over to Chris? Chris?
Yeah, so just a couple of things. As you noted, Lauren, Jim, and I are going to meet with the town administrator and the finance director and some of the department heads on February the 7th at 10. Yes, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock? No, 2 p.m.
No, 2 p.m.
2 p.m. At 2 p.m. Thank you, Lauren. I have something else at 10. That's why I was confused. So at 2 p.m. And then after that, we can share. I'll take some notes and I'll share those notes with the members so you can have them before the February 14th meeting. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm a member of Hale, and as a consequence, I get emails from Hale, and some of you else might be members of getting these same emails, and the information in them is conflicting with what we hear from the town. Now, at this point, I'm willing to believe the town over the advertising that Hale is doing. And the town is telling us there are no negotiations going on. At least there's nothing that's going to arise to prompt a warrant article for us to consider for the spring town meeting. I'm going to go to an information session incognito, but I'll go there on the 8th of February and I'll share the notes I take with that to find out what's really going on from Hale's point of view. That's all I had, George.
Okay, all right. I think in terms of, let me just think, I guess just to the subcommittees, get ready to, after the 14th to start scheduling your meetings, okay? And once again, I really think that, you need to come back and tell us, is it a sustainable budget? In your opinion, is it a balanced budget? Do you see any needs that haven't been met? Because it is going to be a very, very tight fiscal year. So I think our report to the town this year is extremely important. Although I also want to say I'm very impressed with the work that the municipal and the schools have done in putting their budgets together. It clearly has been a challenge. With that, is any other business that anybody else wants to discuss under old business? Any items? I see Jim Ferrara.
Did you get an opinion from Pat Ahern about whether we can vote on minutes if we
Yes, Jim.
reviewed?
Yes, Jim, we did. And basically he said it's up to the chairman.
Okay.
Chris, will you summarize what it said? Basically what it said, if you want, explain that.
Well, there is a state, Jim, there is a state law, as you may know, that says that a member of a board such as ours can miss one meeting and still participate in the vote on that subject by reviewing the meeting that board member missed, either by watching it online nowadays, that's easy, or by going over the minutes. But there is no state statute directly on point that says if you miss a meeting, you can follow up and watch the meeting online and then vote on the minutes. But both Pat and I both agree that it's similar enough that watching the meeting is the functional equivalent of being there. So essentially, Pat said it's up to the chairman of the board to decide whether or not to allow a member who misses a meeting to vote on the approval of the minutes of that meeting if that member says that, yeah, I watched the meeting. So I think my recommendation to George, he hasn't decided yet, but my recommendation would be that when we go to vote on the minutes of a meeting, that George make an announcement that by voting, you acknowledge that you were either there or you watched the meeting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anybody have any comments or opinion on that? Yeah, I see a thumbs up. Jim Ferrara, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think Chris summed it up. I mean, I think that's fair and reasonable. It makes sense if you're visibly there or physically or there or virtually there. I think it's the same.
Yeah, I tend to agree. My guidance would be, especially if, look, if it's a one-time miss and you can't attend a meeting, and there's a reasonable reason for not being there, I'm totally comfortable with that myself, especially in this, especially in the world of how much information is available to us online.
Yeah, I'm looking at this from the point of the minutes. So you may have a different approach if there's in-depth discussion,
Right.
On a particular item.
Yeah. Chris, what did he say anything on that, on a particular item besides if it was a discussion on an item?
Well, for our purposes, when we get to the public hearing portion of our work, it's especially important for everyone to be there.
Right.
But the statute does allow that if somebody can't be there for a meeting, you can still vote on the Finance Commission's recommendation for that warrant article if you watch the meeting you missed from the Westwood Media Center.
So that the statute doesn't address that. Is that what you're saying?
It does address that.
And it says that you can't?
So you can miss one meeting and still vote on the action that the board takes
Okay.
on that particular issue.
All right. I'm fairly comfortable with that myself. So
So
Yes,
what we usually do is we have our public hearings, and then at a later meeting, we vote.
Yeah.
So if you can, what that means to me is that you could miss the public hearing meeting. I wouldn't recommend it. I encourage everyone to be at each of these public hearing meetings. But then if you watch the meeting, then you can still participate in the vote.
Okay. Anybody have comments on that? I see we have a hand up.
Bill Bruce.
Yeah, it's been up for a while. It's not on this topic, on something else. So
Okay,
we
you can,
finish this off and then.
yeah, we're done with this. Go with your something else.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the timeline of things, especially for new people on, right? Because you talked about in 2 weeks, we can start scheduling our individual meetings, like with our different committees. So maybe just walk through the timeline of when we're presenting, when stuff's going to be due, because we have meetings every 2 weeks from now until the end of March, I think, or early April.
I think, assuming that we have all the budgets, I don't have the schedule in front of me. Chris Parada, do you by any chance? So,
Yeah,
So we have
we
the
but
14th.
I would say by the March 14th meeting, we need the subcommittee's recommendations.
so between February 14th and March 14th, because you need to get that done. Because
There's
14th.
there's also a meeting scheduled for the 7th of February. Do we actually have that as well?
7th, we have one on the 7th?
No, not a whole committee meeting. The
No,
7th is,
the
the
7th
7th
the
is when I'm meeting
capital.
with the town.
George Land, it's Chris Parada and his capital subcommittee meeting with the town. It's not a FinCom meeting.
Oh, okay, not good, but okay.
All right. Bill, did you still have a question? I want to make sure we answered yours.
No, sorry.
All
Forgot
right.
about the hand.
Well, the good news is you do this, you handled the school committee last year, so you got it again this year. So that's going to be that'll be a good one.
So
All right.
the more important thing, Bill, is that after that March 14th meeting, we should start thinking about how we're going to write up our recommendations or our reports that go into the town meeting book.
Yeah.
What we can do is, I think maybe at the 14th, at the end of the meeting, maybe Chris, if you would help us with this put together, let's go with schedule in terms of when we think things have to be finished. We'll go over and do that at the February 14th meeting. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. Are there any other old item meetings that people want to bring up? Any questions from public or press? Victoria, is there any public questions?
No.
Okay, oh, there is one, I guess there is one I will bring up. We did get a letter that we distributed to the FinCom members concerning the article dealing with the appointment of the tax collector and the what is it, the assessor for the town. And I basically, we will ask the committee looking at the Charter Review Commission and or the Select Board to address that when they present their articles. let them address the issue that got raised, okay? We sent that letter out to all of you. All right, any other questions or comments?
We still need to approve the,
Minutes, okay, thank you for keeping me on. Can I get a motion first of all, are there any questions on the minutes from the January 17th meeting? Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to
So
approve
moved.
minutes.
Second,
Second.
Victoria, would you do the roll call?
Bill,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
George Hertz,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Caitlin,
Yes.
George Lahan,
Yes.
George Marone,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and Sean.
Yes.
Okay, those are approved. Okay, once again, thank everybody for attending tonight. And if we can get a motion to adjourn, you can all go back to your evening activities. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Second.
George, which
Yes.
budget is the flowers that you're sending to everybody coming out of?
My personal budget, okay?
Okay, just checking. I want to make sure I don't have to review that one too.
Anybody who needs help with flowers, I owe you on that one. I'm glad to do it, okay?
George Laham, you said you weren't going to do it and you just did it again.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Already on the table. Already
Second?
seconded.
Okay,
Second.
you take the roll call.
Bill,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
George Hertz,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Caitlin,
Yes.
George Lahan,
Yes.
George Marone,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and Sean.
Yes.
Okay, once again, thank you all. Have a very nice evening, folks. See you on the 14th. Okay, good night.
Bye,
Thank
all.
you.
Night,
Have a good night.
everyone.